As an author, going to a vendor event is one of the best places you can go to generate sales for your book. So it's important to know what to pack so that way you are comfortable at your vendor event and maximizing your time there to build your brand and make a lot of sales. I'm gonna break down in this video all the things you should be packing for a vendor event. I'm gonna categorize it into 3 different categories. The first being inventory. What are the essentials you need to make money? The second one being marketing materials, and the final one being survival essentials that you need to be comfortable while you're at your vendor event. And within each one of these categories, I'm gonna do my best to mention the things that you need to have for sure, and things that you can get if you want, or if you wanna wait to get those things a little bit further down the line. I've been doing this author thing for a while, so the things that I have for my vendor event may differ than what you will have for your very first time vending, or if you've been vending for a while now. But what's most important is that you get the essentials of what you need and build from there in a way that fits not only your brand, but also your budget as well. So let's dive into it. The first category we're gonna be talking about is your inventory. What do you need to have in order to generate a sale? So number 1, the first thing you need to have, of course, are your books. You can't go to a vendor event to sell books without your books. So please, 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 please don't forget these at home. Don't forget them in your office. Don't forget them in your car. You need to pack your books. And you need to decide for yourself how many books you're gonna be bringing to your vendor event. But overall, you need to pack however many books you expect to sell or you're aspiring to sell in your car to go to your vendor event. The second thing you need to keep in mind are markers or pens. Basically, when you're at your event and people are buying books from you, they're gonna want a signature from you. They're gonna want you to write a nice note to the kid, adult, or teacher that they're buying your book for. And so it's important to have something that you can write with, ready on standby, so that way you can fulfill that request for them. Remember, the biggest thing about going to a vendor event is that you can connect with your customer. And they too get to connect with the author of the book, which they normally don't get to do when they go to a regular brick and mortar like Barnes & Noble. So be sure to make that extra special for them by taking a few seconds out of your time to write a nice message and sign the book for them or whoever they want you to rate the book out to. But in order for them to buy the book that you're selling, you need to have payment options available for them. So I also recommend that you have a sheet on your table that has whatever form of payments that you're taking. So whether that's the QR code for Cash App or PayPal or Venmo, making sure that you have that readily available on a piece of paper on your table is gonna be really helpful, so that way you're, 1, not repeating yourself as much. And if you have a lot of people there, one person could be doing the QR code while you're having a conversation with another person. It just makes that multitasking a little bit easier for you. But for my people that are a little bit more old school, something else that I recommend that you will have is a cash box. Now, this is a situation where it's kind of teetering on a need versus a want. I like the idea of you actually getting a formal cash box because it's something that you can lock and you have guaranteed safety for physical cash that you'll have on hand at the event. But you also, if you aren't able to afford one right now, just use a regular envelope and just keep it on your person while you're at a vendor event so you don't have to worry about that as well. But having a cash box so that way you can have cash on hand is another essential that you need to have for your inventory when it comes to doing a vendor event. So thinking about all the ways that you're gonna be accepting payment, whether that's Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, cash on hand, making sure that you have change so that way when people are purchasing your book, you can give out that change to them accordingly. But I also wanna recommend for people as more of a long-term goal for yourself is to invest in something like a Square. That way you can take payments from debit cards and credit cards as well. This again is more so a want. You don't need to have this immediately. I don't think I got this Square until about a year ago, honestly, in my author's journey. So very recently, I just invested in a Square. It's not something that I felt like I needed because I had cash on hand. I took Cash App, PayPal, all the other digital platforms that people have. But as I was doing more and more vendor events, I started paying attention to how many times people were asking me to pay with a credit card or pay with a debit card instead of using those other methods that I did have. And so I decided it was worthwhile for me to invest in an actual Square to help serve those customers that I wasn't able to reach because I didn't accept those forms of payment. So again, I lasted a pretty long time without a Square, so it's not something that you need to have, but definitely put it in the I want category for the future of your vending career. Now you may be wondering during the course of this video, what is she reaching down to? I actually have a wagon here that I can't really show given the angle of the camera right now, so I'll give you a quick close-up over here. I definitely think getting a wagon for vending events is a need that you have to get because it just makes it a lot easier for you to carry everything in one go and make it easier for you when you tear down your event to leave very efficiently. However, I also understand that a wagon can be a little bit out of people's price points for your very first vendor event. So if you don't have the money to get a wagon right now, I definitely recommend just getting a large tote bag as well. When I first started doing vendor events, I got my wagon very early on, but I think I was rocking a tote bag for the first 3 to 5 vendor events that I did. So you can easily navigate the world with just a large tote bag, especially if you get one that's really spacious. Like this one, it can carry a lot of things in it. So you definitely don't need to have a wagon. You can definitely just use a tote bag, but I definitely think it's easier to navigate with a wagon than it is a tote bag, because when you go to a vendor event, you never really know how far away it's gonna be from your parking location. And so having a wagon just makes that a lot easier. You don't have to worry about getting dirty. And also to keep in mind that you're a walking brand when you go into a vendor event. And so while you may only be thinking about the interactions you're gonna have with your customer at your table, you also need to consider that from the moment you arrive at the venue, people are watching you. They're making assumptions about you, and all of those assumptions are gonna affect how they view your brand and subsequently your book as well. So making sure that you're showing up very polished and put together, like having a wagon or having an organized way that you put your stuff together is gonna be really helpful for you to really build a better brand for yourself while you're at those vendor events. So definitely encourage you to get a wagon or substitute that for a large tote bag to carry your stuff. And speaking of bags, something else that you should be considering is getting a bag for people to take your book home in. So this is something I would categorize as a 1. You don't necessarily need to have a bag when you're selling your books, especially if that's not in your budget range. But I encourage you that you should have bags for every customer that goes to your table. This is because as you're selling your book, you want them to have a similar experience that they would if they're shopping at Barnes & Noble or at their own local bookstores. You don't want them to feel a difference in the quality of services they're being given because you are independently selling your book. So one of the simplest ways you can do this is by just putting your book in a bag. By putting your book in a bag, you're giving them the same experience as if they were at a traditional store. And again, keeping up that same quality of your brand so that they have that same level of association. The next category I want to go over is marketing. These are the items that I want you to consider adding to your list for vendor events so that way you can better market yourself as an author or as a keynote speaker, a workshop facilitator, read aloud guest, whatever it is that you want to include in your brand. But these essential things are going to help you do that while you're at your vendor event. The first thing I recommend people have is a handout or a form on your table that has information about the services that you're offering. I have one that's like in a display case I just like to have people look at with a QR code, but if you want to have actual handouts that people can take with them, that's also a really smart way to go about it. Essentially, you want to market yourself as a business. What better way to do that than to give information about everything that you offer? Because yes, you'll be talking about it at your table, but they need to have something that they're gonna be able to review later on once they've walked by you. So keeping that in mind is really important. So consider what kind of handout you can give, what kind of services you're trying to offer, and having that available and ready at the table, whether that's digitally, like how I have with a QR code here, or physical handouts that they can take with them. I like to put little thank you notes into my books as well. It is an extra step, an extra expense, but I think that extra step makes it worthwhile to buy from me direct versus a third party that I'm using to sell my book, because they really get to connect with me as the author and then are more likely to purchase more books from me because we're establishing a relationship there. So if you have the funds to do it, I definitely encourage you for marketing purposes to include a nice note thanking them for buying a book, but also on the cards that I provide, I also have reminders for my customers to follow me on social media, as well as to leave a review on my book. Again, conversations that you're gonna have at the table, but having that reminder for them when you're gone is gonna be really crucial for you to be able to market yourself and remind them to help you out along the way. Going alongside that, something else I always have on my table are business cards. I have this cute little holder for them. You don't need to have the cute little holder. They can definitely just be on the table. I just like to have my stuff organized. So having a business card there, if that's really relevant to what you're trying to do, again, this is most relevant if you're trying to further advertise yourself as a read aloud guest, workshop facilitator, and so on. But having a business card that has your website, email address, phone number, however else they can connect with you and remember who you are once they've walked away. So definitely consider having a business card there as well for those marketing purposes. I also encourage people to have their own tablecloth for the event. This is something I would categorize as a need. I teeter on that because it really can just be a want. It really is situational. At some vendor events, they'll give you a tablecloth and some of them they won't. And I just find that it looks more professional at an event if you have a tablecloth there. And so I just prefer to bring my own tablecloth because you just never know if they're gonna provide that or not. So I personally have a fitted tablecloth. As you can see, it's orange because it goes with my brand colors. And I like that it's fitted because I don't have to worry about making sure that it's even in the front. No matter what, it's gonna look nice and neat. So definitely encourage you getting a tablecloth, getting it in your brand colors if you have them. If you don't, a standard black one will do. This is also good for you to keep in mind because having a tablecloth really will help you with storing all the stuff that you have at the event without your space looking dirty. So like I said, I have a wagon that I bring with me everywhere I go. So having a tablecloth allows me to hide that there's junk underneath the table when people come by. So definitely keep that in mind as something that you can do to make yourself look a little bit more presentable and market yourself and really build that brand that you are not only a great author, but you're a professional business as well. And going alongside that, another aspect that I would encourage you to get when it comes to marketing yourself is a book stand. Having a book stand will help you with that marketing aspect of your books because you can have your book laying flat on your table where people walk by, but they won't really see it as well if they're walking by and it's flat like this. But if you have a book stand that's able to prop it up, that means no matter how someone walks by, it's more likely that they'll be able to see your book as they walk by and they may stop to look at it. So having a book stand allows you to really draw more people to see your book and be more interested in it as well. For the last category of Survivor Essentials, we're gonna go through it a little bit fast, so be sure to have a pencil and notepad so you can write these down, or be sure to pause and rewind as much as you need. I want you to consider this in terms of what do you need as a human being at a vendor event to last. Most vendor events are a minimum of 2 hours, but some of them can last all day if you choose to be there. But you're a human person with human needs, and so you're gonna need some things that have nothing to do with your book, nothing to do with your business, but everything to do with you as a human being in order to be comfortable at that table for that undisclosed amount of time. So some things that you need to pack to be comfortable at your vendor event are an extension cord in case you need access to power during your event, a portable phone charger to keep your phone charged, especially if you wanna make content while you're there, water bottles so that way you're hydrated, snacks in case you get hungry, lotion, hand sanitizer, tape or scissors. Trust me, you may need these throughout your day. I also encourage people to wear comfortable shoes. Again, you are a walking representation of your brand, but that doesn't mean you can't be comfortable while you're there. So being mindful of the kind of shoes that you're wearing because you may be standing up and down while you're at the event. Also consider having an extra person there. So that way, if you need to go to the bathroom or leave your table unattended, you have someone there that you trust to watch over your stuff. You may also want to consider having your own table and chair because some vendor events don't provide those as well. So keeping that in mind can also be really helpful to prevent yourself from not having anywhere to physically sell your book. Or you may just want to have a chair that's more comfortable than the one they provided. So definitely keeping those things in mind are going to be really useful for you to be able to enjoy your event. And some events may be outside. So maybe you need to invest in sunglasses and sunscreen as well, or a physical tent to make sure that you're not getting rained on or there's not too much sunlight hitting you while you're vending. Signing up for a vendor event is the easy part, but packing with intention to make sure that you have everything that you need to be successful takes time, skill, and practice. So like I said, a lot of the stuff that I covered when it came to inventory, marketing, or survival essentials can be split up between things that you need to have versus things that you can get a little bit further along the line that you don't necessarily need right now. But knowing this overall is going to help make sure that you are going to those vendor events confidently with everything that you need and the understanding that you are a walking representation of your brand. So how you show up when you walk into that space and how you set up your table, it's gonna be conveying a message about the quality of book that you're writing before someone even turns a page. If this video was interesting to you, be sure to check out my other video about how to attract people to come to your table at vendor events, so that way you can gain a little bit more insight into some tips and tricks to make sure that your table stands out above all the rest. I love how I'm holding it. Like, it's so cute and precious. Ah!